Hello, 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 and welcome back to DLA Alternative. It's your boy Brandon, and I hope everyone is doing phenomenal as always. And thank you to everyone who keeps subscribing, liking, and following this journey. But most importantly, I want to jump right into this one. And yes, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, we're going to talk about the Zombie Boy article because there's something interesting I found, and there are some weird things that I'm going to show you. So let's get right into this one, people. So first things first, we're not going to talk about this article too much. We've talked about it in other theories, but there's some interesting things on here real quickly. Basically, all it says is that the coroner's office admitted to misidentifying Will's fake body and all that shit. And basically, they said it was another boy, and they never said who it was. There's no name or anything. And 2 days prior to that, Will went missing. And then 6 days after the body was found, Will was found in a cabin outside of Hawkins by Chief Jim Hopper. And we talked about that in the other theories. Like I said, go check them out if you haven't. But my major point is that Will finds this in his locker at the very beginning of season 2, okay? And it says Zombie Boy, and he's getting made fun of, and his eyes are crossed out and X'd out like that, which is very fucking interesting to season 4 and how that plays out as well. And I'm not entirely sure why we see it like this on Will for the very first time before we see this all the way in season 4 later on. So I'm not entirely sure, but this is not a good sign if this is foreshadowing anything at all. But my major point is the most interesting thing on here that has intrigued me for a long time is the name Benjamin Buck, okay? And that's the guy who wrote this, and we don't know who that is as far as I know. If we do, let me know, please. But my major point is that we actually do see the name Benjamin Buck in an earlier article all the way back in season 1, and I want you to keep in mind this gets very fucking interesting. So we're going to talk about a couple different articles real quickly, and then we're going to talk about one that connects directly to this one, okay? But there are some differences, and that's all I'm going to say for now. So as I always do, I was analyzing, okay? And I was analyzing for something completely different once again, all right? But my major point is I was analyzing something completely different, and I ended up coming across the scene when Powell and Hopper go to the library to try and find information about Hawkins' lab, okay? All the way back in season 1. And basically, I just decided to just rewatch that scene just because I always found that scene interesting, and I always try to read those articles and try and figure things out. Well, I haven't done that in a long time, okay? And if you have watched some of the other theories, you would know that we did analyze this Zombie Boy article, but we did not analyze the name Benjamin Buck. And all of a sudden, I was analyzing this scene, just rewatching it, okay? And we came across some articles that they look up. And this first one is titled Alleged Experiments, Abuse. And it's written by T. Bridges, all right? And I found this extremely interesting, and I never thought about this before until now that we have our new season titles for season 5, okay? And season 5, chapter 7 is called The Bridge. So now really thinking about that episode title, and I did analyze that in a completely different theory when those came out, I based that strictly off the meaning of the word the bridge and what that could mean to that episode and how usually chapter 7s in this show play out, okay? And that's how I compared that title episode to everything, all right? But I never once thought that maybe the term the bridge for that title episode could actually be a nickname, maybe, and a nickname of this person writing these articles, because the next article is also by T. Bridges. And if you put 2 and 2 together, the bridge and then T. Bridges, okay, I have no idea if there is a connection here, but that's a little odd if you ask me, so let me know your thoughts about that. But basically, this first article, it talks about Terry Ives and how she's suing Brenner and all this shit, but it talks about the district attorney turning down or refusing to press charges against Dr. Brenner, okay? And it says Dr. Martin Brenner, so keep that in mind. And you might think that's weird that I'm even saying that, but just keep that in mind, that it says Dr. Martin Brenner, all right? And then we get to this next article, which, like I said, it's by T. Bridges, okay? And it says MK Ultra Exposed. And basically, that's what it's talking about. And it's talking a little more deeply about how MK Ultra actually was exposed, and that a special inquiry was made in order to expose the CIA operation MK Ultra, okay? And I think we do know that, and there is a lot about MK Ultra that people do know a lot more than I do, trust me. But the thing that's interesting about it is just look at how it's worded, okay? And look at how it uses the term American people, so that's interesting, and that's a little hint as well. And this one comes off a little more serious in that something was actually exposed, being MK Ultra, okay? But both of these articles are written by T. Bridges, so keep that in mind. I don't know if that has any importance, like I said, and I do not know if there's a connection to that Chapter 7 title for Season 5. And it's a little odd to me that this is a name, and that's something that I think a lot of people would not actually think that that Chapter 7 title could be referring to specifically. And that Chapter 7 title comes off like a nickname, like The Bridge, maybe a nickname for the person T. Bridges. Maybe that's something people called him, like The Bridge, or whoever the fuck it could be. And then we get to this third article, okay, and it says Dr. Martin Brenner, okay, like I said, remember Martin Brenner, named in lawsuit, okay, and it's written by someone else this time. It's written by an A. Ward, which is a staff writer, okay, and I do not fucking know if that has any importance at all, if that's a lower or higher rank in a newspaper or whatever, so let me know your thoughts about that, or let me know that. I really don't give a shit about looking that up, so just let me know that. But anyways, my major point here is that it mentions Dr. Brenner specifically, Dr. Martin Brenner, and then it talks about 7 other people also named in this lawsuit, okay? So just keep that in mind. I don't know who those 7 people are, and it does not mention them. But what's interesting is that Dr. Martin Brenner's attorneys asked the court, the circuit court, to seal these documents because there wasn't enough information to make this a federal or a public thing, apparently, because a lawsuit has already been refused, and we know that from the first article involving Dr. Martin Brenner and Terry Ives, okay, once again. But then we get to this last article, okay, and this is the one that gets interesting, and this is written by a writer, which we have mentioned in this video already, by the name of Benjamin Buck. And this one is titled Terry Ives Suing, and in quote it says, "They took my daughter," okay? And this one is specifically about Terry Ives and that she's not giving up, and she is filing another lawsuit against Martin Brenner and Hawkins Lab. And basically for abuse, mistreatment, sleep deprivation, and all that shit, okay? And that's basically all it's about and all we see here. And it's a picture of Terry Ives on that. And what's interesting is that we see this name Benjamin Buck, and I don't know who this is and if this has any importance whatsoever, but it's weird that he's the one that wrote this article that we're seeing, and specifically about Terry Ives and how she's not giving up on this lawsuit and all this shit and how they took her daughter. And then we see Benjamin Buck's name here all the way in season 2 when Will is getting made fun of and sees this Zombie Boy article. And this article is titled The Boy Who Came Back to Life. And I don't know if you realize, but we've seen this article in season 1. And we actually saw this article not with Zombie Boy written on it, not with eyes crossed out, but still titled the name The Boy Who Came Back to Life. However, there is no writer's name. That is completely blanked out and there is nothing there. And if you already know, let me know, and fucking press that like button, fucking get us to 1K, and keep subscribing, liking, and following this journey, because let's read this article that is actually shown at the very end of season 1, which is posted up in the Hawkins Police Department by Hopper. And when I say Hopper, I only mean that because I really don't know who the fuck else would be the one who would put this up. So you let me know your thoughts about that as well. But I'm going to look away now and we are going to read this article together. So let's do this, people. All right, so this article, like I said, is at the end of season 1, chapter 8, and it's when Hopper is leaving the Christmas party to go leave those cookies out for 11, okay? And this is after everything happened. It's almost the very, very fucking end scene, so just keep that in mind as well. But this article says, "The boy who came back to life. The former missing child, Will Byers, has been found after a week of searching. He is presently in stable condition in Hawkins General Hospital. Byers' mother, Joyce Byers, alleges that Will was the subject of a secret government program run by the Hawkins National Laboratory." What the fuck is that shit, people? Let's keep going. The allegation comes amidst a massive investigation into the hidden organization and its elaborate experimentations in perusal of mind control. The abuse detailed in the first report includes prolonged physical distress and psychological interrogation. The government-sanctioned torture has provoked outrage amongst the American people. And then this is when it's going to get wild, people. If you have not noticed it already, let's keep going. In a statement issued yesterday, blank, I cannot read that, Ives mentioned her discussing the organization, saying, "Our own American people are being treated like the enemy. We should be directing our attention to the real target, the Soviets, not our own daughters and sons. Under legal blank I cannot read, Brenner has issued no comment on," and that's all we get, people. So you tell me what the fuck that shit is, because that is not the same article, people, and obviously that is not the same fucking article, but the point I'm trying to make is why is that up in the police department? Why do we see another article at the beginning of season 2? And also, why is there no writer's name? And also, why the fuck is this so different? And also, why does it say Ives mentioned something? Because we know Mama can barely even speak. So what does it mean that Ives mentioned something? Because in season 2, we still see Mama and she cannot speak like that. We see her meet 11. So what does that mean, people? What did I find and what did I notice and what the fuck is there? What is this, people? Let me know your thoughts about this, because this is crazy. This shit is out in the obvious for all of these police officers to see. And like I said, this is not the fucking article we see that Will is getting made fun of with that Zombie Boy article. It's titled the same. It says Benjamin Buck. However, this article is a lot different. And the most important part is it says Ives mentioned, okay? And we know Mama. We know how she is. What does this mean? So no doubt in my mind, we have to get an answer to this and why those two articles are different and why the fuck this is all a thing at all. We have to get an answer to this in season 5, people. But the other thing I want you to keep in mind is, who is Richard Brenner? And yes, like I said earlier, remember the name Dr. Martin Brenner. Martin Brenner, all right? But who is Richard Brenner? Because I want you to keep in mind, there's another weird article that we just saw, and it's right directly next to it. And it's this weird article right here. And it says a bunch of random shit, but it mentions Dr. Richard Brenner. Those two columns are pretty much identically the same thing from what I can see. They both mention about how this was brought to the Post's attention, being the Hawkins Post, okay? And it mentions Dr. Richard Brenner, all right? And then it also mentions the involvement or something about it involving him in 1954 to 1971. So what the fuck does that mean, people? Who is Richard Brenner and who is Dr. Richard Brenner and why was his involvement at those timestamps? Because that would mean that his involvement was around the time of Henry Creel, okay? And then that would also mean that his involvement was actually, since we just fucking got this info with the new season 5 poster being 11 missing, or being Jane Hopper's missing, and it gives us her birth date. And it also has her birth year on there, and it says 1971. And this guy, Richard Brenner, was involved until 1971. So who the fuck is Richard Brenner? And what the fuck is all of this? Because I am going crazy. You might be laughing at my seriousness, but this is blowing my mind, this info. And it's at the very end of season 1, and it's only flashed, and it's flashed real quick. It pans out and gets blurrier as it pans out, so it only allows you to see this for a split second. So pause it and read it for yourself if you can't see the pictures clearly. But let me know your thoughts about this, people, because this threw me on a fucking loop once again, and there's a connection to all of this, a connection to the titles, a connection to the writers, but a huge fucking difference in the writing to these two, and something that is out in the public involving the police department specifically. I have no idea if this article we see at the very end of season 1 ever made it out to the actual public of Hawkins, because as we see in season 2, we see that article and it's completely fucking different. And Benjamin Buck is the one who wrote that. So does that mean Benjamin Buck, who wrote that other one about Terry Ives, wrote some bullshit about Terry Ives in that article? That's what I want to fucking know, because this first one at the end of season 1 seems to me that it's actually way more factual in the actual truth. But the thing about that, once again, is why the fuck does it say Ives mentioned? And is it talking about Terry Ives at all? Or is it talking about Becky Ives? And that's what I also want you to keep in mind, is that we know Becky Ives, that she did not want any involvement with this shit whatsoever. And she didn't give a shit at all about Hawkins' lab. And she didn't believe her fucking sister Terry Ives until all of this shit happened with 11. But the major point is who the fuck is Benjamin Buck? Why is this a difference in all of these articles? And who the fuck is the Ives that is being mentioned in this article? Is it Becky Ives, which I really don't fucking think so, or is it Terry Ives? And that raises a lot of questions, people, and a lot of questions that we would need answer in season 5. So let me know your thoughts about all of this. I hope you guys like this one. This led us on a loop and a connection in so many different ways. So let me know your thoughts. It's your boy Brandon, DLA Alternative. I hope you guys like this one as always, and you guys already motherfucking know, we out.